I know you could be asking yourself, what did the Committee on Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries recommend to Parliament when Parliament sent to them the National Coffee Amendment Bill 2024? Now, Parliament Watch is here to break that down on what were the observations and findings and recommendations on the National Coffee Amendment Bill from that committee. Let me walk with you. Whenever Parliament sends a report to a committee, they have about 30 to 45 days. So for this bill, the National Coffee Amendment Bill, the bill was read for the first time on the 24th of September 2024 and was referred to the Committee on Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries. That's in accordance to Rule 129, subsection 1 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament. Now, that specific bill had a lot of interest, and no matter what Parliament does is that it does its own internal consultations from different stakeholders to ensure that it comes up with a holistic position on that specific bill. So while considering that bill, the committee applied for the following it applied the following consultations and methods in order to come up with a holistic report. And as you can see on the screen with that infographic, the number of meetings. They had a meeting with MAIF, that's the Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries. They had a meeting with UCDA itself. They had a meeting with the Public Service. They had a meeting with the Buganda Parliamentary Caucus. They had a meeting with the Bugisu Parliamentary Caucus. They received a written memoranda from the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. Then they did a number of document reviews. The first was to review the Constitution itself, 2, the National Coffee Act, CAP 38. Then they went ahead to review the National Coffee Policy 2013. In addition to that, they had written memoranda from the Masaka City Coffee Nursery Operators Limited and the Devoted Coffee Farmers Initiative. Still, they received a petition from the Banyakanungu Coffee Farmers Cooperative Union, that's Bako Faku Limited. Now, this work of analysis is going to try and show you the findings and observations and recommendations that came from the committee. Now to note, when the debate was happening, and I must quote here, this is Honorable Sarah Kabanda, she was quite vocal on these issues, and her argument was, and this is very, very vital, her argument was that the committee made the right observations but made the wrong conclusions. So there was sentiment that the committee report actually had the right observations of the coffee situation in the country, but when it came to making the conclusion, it made an entirely different conclusion, and there were so many interpretations. So what are the findings and observations? And they are divided into a number of them. The first, as you can see on the screen, is whether there are mandate overlaps between UCDA and the Ministry of Agriculture. The second is on whether UCDA has served the purpose for which it was established. The third is on the quality assurance and research that was being done. Then the other is on UCDA's contribution to the national treasury, and subsequently the recommendations that come thereof. So we're going to look at each issue at a time to give you more context about these specific issues. So let's start with the first, right, which is whether there are mandate overlaps between UCDA and MAIF. So according to the rule of really agentification from public administration, an agent acts on behalf of the one who has commissioned them. So the idea is that the UCDA derives its mandate from the National Coffee Act. And the functions of UCDA then were to regulate all on-farm and off-farm activities in the entire value chain. And a number of observations are made under this, which is that UCDA as an agency was not having any overlapping roles with the ministry. It was so independent that it was covering coffee, and the ministry there were no overlaps in mandate at that specific level, which led to still the observation still under that subsection, which is that that because of the fact that the European markets constitute 65% of Ugandan coffee, and that the European Union was declaring that each specific farmer must have a traceability element to them, because Europe might not receive coffee if you've done so from deforested land and all other aspects that concern, and the deadline being 1st January 2025. So the idea is that, and this is true as a core observation on that very first item, which is that there is no duplication of UCDA's mandate with MAIF. And as you can see on the screen, this is the committee's recommendation, or any other government agency. The committee observes that the coffee sector is a very, very important export earner that should be independently regulated to meet the demands of the export market. The civil service model, and here they are trying to criticize the mainstream operation of government services away from the agencies, that the civil service model of operation and service delivery cannot efficiently undertake and deliver this mandate. It is important to note that UCDA has increased the production volumes of coffee from 3.5 million 60 kilogram bags in 2014-2015 to 8.06 million 60 kilograms of bags currently in the medium term, targeting 20 million bags by 2029-2030. The idea is that merging the mandate and abolishing UCDA at this time risks derailing this very critical target of the coffee roadmap. Now, that's the first issue, right? On whether there are mandate overlaps. So the committee says there are no mandate overlaps and speaks to some form of threat. The second issue, as you can see on the screen, is on whether UCDA has served the purpose for whether it was established. And this is quite vital, because UCDA had quite a number of objectives, and the report, if you are able to pay attention to the report, it speaks of the role of UCDA and the fact that UCDA had a core mandate to regulate coffee activities up to the farm, but not just up to the farm, even off the farm, speaks to how essential it was. The committee established then that Uganda is one of Africa's top coffee exporters with revenue earnings rising from US dollars 883.3 million to 950.24 million from 2021 to 2022. And this is vital, right? Because if you were in charge of performing well, and then the numbers are saying you performed well, then that speaks to the fact that you are like doing a good job. Still, the coffee exports increase in bags from they have increased in bags from 5.83, that's 2021, to 6.26. You can imagine, right? This is a lot of progress, right? And government had already committed itself to achieving the target of 20 million bags as of 2029, 2030, right? And and this was quite a very huge contention in Parliament, right? That UCDA was involved in distributing 545, 475, 98, right? Coffee seedlings during the last 5 years, benefiting 937,605 farmers, as you can see on the screen. So the idea is that UCDA has been on the ground, in the touching the Mamamboga, the last person on the street, the last mile person, and perhaps the idea is that they have been so instrumental both on farm and out of farm, because on farm is production, right, and out of farm is export and value addition, right? Now the committee, and this is vital, and as you can see on the infographic, the coffee sector employs 12 million people, nearly 25% of Uganda's population, according to the coffee profile in 2018. And this is quite vital, right? Because there are so many people that are invested in coffee, right? And that's the second issue, right, on whether UCDA has served its purpose. So on contention one, on whether there are mandate overlaps between UCDA and MAIF, the question is no. Question two, whether UCDA served its purpose, yes. So let's continue to still the committee observations, right, on the whole idea of quality assurance and research. So the committee notes that coffee quality assessment is in two ways. The first is the physical evaluation of green and roasted coffee, and two, the sensory evaluation of the roasted beverage, which has been the core function of UCDA. And we all know they have a lab in Rugogo which does exactly that with extension farmers and technical people that do that, right? And the idea here is that this kind of compliance they do to the export market is very vital in order to enforce established standards. As a result, the committee report argues quality control has improved and Uganda's coffee is ranked among the third in the world after Kenya's and Ethiopia. And that's good. I think it's good progress, and the committee is really clapping for UCDA. And they continue to, talk about how it has been designated as a center of robust excellence by the Coffee Quality Institute, in addition to certification and accreditation of the UCDA Coffee Laboratory in Lugogo by the same institution. Now, this is like really vital, right? Because the idea is, if an institution is working well, then perhaps it should be maintained. Now, there are a number of observations that accrue from the issue on quality assurance and research, a number of them, right? And the first is that coffee quality control requires swiftness and high levels of efficiency, which is best provided for under the agency model. Let me try and be clear. This report is hands-off on the whole idea of government service. By government, I mean anything other than agency, not being competent. And as you could have noticed, on the first recommendation, which comes on the item of whether there is mandate overlaps between UCDA, they still say that the civil service mode of operation and service delivery within government main structures cannot effectively undertake and deliver this mandate. The report was clear, the report of Parliament. Perhaps parliamentarians chose to clean their hands and say, we've done our best, let's lay the facts on the table as they are. A second recommendation that comes thereof, still on coffee quality, is that despite the commendable achievements by UCDA, the task ahead of, first of all, ensuring we have a coffee traceability system, but two, the task of ensuring we hit 20 million 60 kilogram coffee bags by 2019-2030 is so enormous a task and requires empowerment rather than rationalization. And the idea there is you support the successor agency to sustain, consolidate on UCDA's achievements rather than be rationalized, their argument was. Third was that mainstreaming UCDA into MAIF immediately risks compromising quality and research efforts and may lead to information asymmetry. That would also jeopardize critical functions, leading to adverse effects on Uganda's coffee exports and competitiveness. Now, a couple of benchmarks are noted here, and here the idea was that can we give it a 3-year transition period? Can we give it 5 years, right? That was the recommendation that was coming thereof. So the benchmarks here was that in Kenya and Ethiopia, which attempted that immediate rationalization of those coffee agencies of their countries from the agency model back to the ministry as departments, they note that that attempt suffered setbacks that resulted into reduced coffee production for export, and that these very countries have since gone back to the agency model. Now, let me go to the third issue, really, which is on UCDA's contribution to the national treasury. As you can see on the screen, the numbers that are shown there, coffee has been contributing quite a lot non-tax revenue into the economy. Now, if I may note that the committee was informed by UCDA that and other partners that UCDA contributes to the national treasury through the non-tax revenue, which is remitted to the consolidated fund. And for example, in the year 2324, UCDA contributed 82.253 billion to the national treasury, while it was allocated 44 billion, about 44.756 billion. That's like an extra 40 close to 40 billion, right? So it means that this agency is actually like profitable, right? Because if you are making more money than you're being given, it means there's some form of profit. And you can see the numbers are really good. Between 2014 and 2024, oh goodness, we've had over, that is quite a lot of money. So many billions, 287, my goodness. That's so many, yeah? So much money getting into the consolidated fund. As you can see on the screen, yeah? UCDA has been positively contributing to this economy. So the recommendation that comes thereof is that the mandate of UCDA being a going concern promotes one of our key export earners and has a multiplier effect throughout the economy, and is better served by the agency model in the interim as the ministry builds capacity to seamlessly take over that very institution. Now, I'm done with those aspects, those issues they discussed. Now, let me show you what conclusion later came up. The conclusion was that given these issues, let's give it 3 years to enable MAIF to build the capacity to execute the mandate of UCDA. And as you can see on the screen, that is what came from that specific report. So I want to end. Do you think the government was right in rationalizing the Uganda Coffee Development Authority? Let us know in your comments. The comments, whether it's on Podbean or YouTube, just let us know. Do you think it was right for the government to do this decision or not?